Mhm. Grand Rising, good people. Shout out to Big Bro Doug, already tapping in early as he always does. Shout out to everybody. I hope everybody had an amazing weekend. It is Monday. It is Monday. Y'all know what we do on Mondays. Y'all know the energy that we put out on Mondays. Make this our greatest week ever. The goal is to make this our greatest week ever. As you're joining, please make sure that you like and subscribe. We got a full show for y'all today. We got some politics today. We got some politics, but we got some consciousness that we're bringing to the table. We got a Tom Sowell video that I want y'all to tap into. We got a Trump kind of interview that we're going to review. Apparently, across the country, people are rallying against Donald Trump and Elon. I think it's called hands off, which is interesting because they're telling people to keep their hands off, right? The government, keep your hands off. But the people that are actually going in and auditing the government, I guess, yeah. All right. We're going to talk about it and how propaganda is fueling that movement, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. Then we have a lady on CNN that I want to show. She brought up an interesting perspective on a lot of the topics that we discuss around tariffs, and I want us to take a look at that. Jason Whitlock, he had an interesting video and an interesting take. Well, I can't even say his take was interesting, but he commented on some people that had some interesting takes out here and related a white supremacist to some of the things that Jesse Jackson has said in the past. So we'll talk about that. Oh, that window's a little dirty. Need to clean that up from the outside. All right, so there's construction going on. So as you can see, the window over there's a little. It's the construction. All right, it's the construction. So, all right, let's. I guess what will we start off today? We don't have too many of the short videos. It's more of the longer videos. But I guess actually we'll start out on X. We'll start out on X. Check out a couple videos over there for us to review, get going, and then we'll move forward from there. Matter of fact, we had a funny. We'll hold off on that one. But let's take a look at this Sean Fain with Caitlin Collins interview. So Sean Fain, we actually have shown his videos before. He was one of the heads of I believe he's the United Auto Worker president. So we're going to take a look at some of his words. And I think that we're not going to look at this full clip, but he said some important things in here that I think bring some common sense to politics. And even though he's getting called out by a lot of the people on the conservative side, I actually think that he's right. He's being very mature about how he's going about things. And I think we need more of this on both sides when it comes to who we attach ourselves to politically, and also having the wherewithal and common sense to not get caught up in what we always call hustling backwards, where we're so upset emotionally that we end up doing something logically that just doesn't make sense for us. Shout out to my bro G in the building. So we got Doug. Oh, Doug's in Florida. Okay. Shout out to Doug. Shout out to G. Grand rising to both of y'all, man. Grand rising to both of y'all. All right, so let's get into a little bit of this video. Like I said, like and subscribe as you're joining, and we got a lot to discuss today.
The real problem isn't.
You have praised the auto tariffs here, 25% that went into effect last night. What's your response to what Stellantis did today?
You know, there's excess capacity all over this country right now, and Stellantis has excess capacity right in Warren, Michigan, where they're laying people off again. They could move Ram truck production there in very short order, be producing Ram trucks. I'm here in Chattanooga, Tennessee right now at Volkswagen. Volkswagen produces 75% of their vehicles in Mexico. And, you know, there's excess capacity right here at this plant. So Lordstown, Ohio, Lordstown Assembly Plant. I mean, there's plenty of capacity in this country. People forget about the arsenal of democracy and how excess capacity in this country was used to support the war effort and delivered a victory in World War II for America. And so we really have to look at reality and quit using fear tactics and scare tactics in talking about this.
I mean, your auto workers, maybe they're happy with the auto tariffs. We saw some of them in the Rose Garden yesterday cheering the president's moves. But what about when they're paying more for food and clothes and electronics? Are they worried about that tonight?
Well, I mean, I think everyone's worried about it, but let's talk about the real problem here. The real problem isn't these tariffs. The real problem here is corporate greed. I mean, let's talk about the auto industry. From 2020 to 2023, when they jacked up the price of vehicles 35%, it wasn't because wages went up. It wasn't because of tariffs. People were manipulating and price gouging consumer because of a pandemic that was in place. So,
did y'all just hear what this man just said? Keep in mind, this is a Democrat. This is a union guy. This is a guy that supported Kamala Harris. I want to go back and listen. Please listen to what he just said regarding the companies that are running up prices. All of the political leaders on, let's just be honest, the Democrat side, they want to make it seem as if this is just Donald Trump's selfishness, greed, and we're actually not calling out the root of the problem, the companies. We're acting like this is Donald Trump's fault, everything that's going on. Some of it may be, some of it may be appropriate blame that he's taking. But listen to what this gentleman just said.
Tariffs, the real problem here is corporate greed. I mean, let's talk about the auto industry. From 2020 to 2023, when they jacked up the price of vehicles 35%, it wasn't because wages went up. It wasn't because of tariffs. People were manipulating and price gouging consumer because of a pandemic that was in place. So, it's a choice.
These companies will use any and every excuse to act as if, oh, well, something that this person's doing, yeah, now we got to charge y'all more. They are cutthroat business people that will do anything and everything to increase their margins, to make more money, to line their pockets. They're actually no different than a lot of these other politicians that we see. They're no different. So the companies can sit here and say, well, the tariffs are causing us to charge you more. You don't have to charge more. What reason did you have to charge more during the pandemic? What reason did you have to charge so much more during the pandemic? They're always going to find an excuse, a reason, in order to charge you more if they can blame somebody else for the reason why they have to do so. They all work in cahoots, so they all raise their prices up. Everybody's doing better, and the people that actually suffer are the consumers, us. But meanwhile, we're just sitting here getting mad at Donald Trump.
And I keep hearing the cry. I've heard this crying all day about the stock market. A majority of Americans don't own stock. Working class people, 60% don't have any retirement savings. That's the crisis in this country.
That's another funny one. I have so many people reaching out. I'll be totally honest. It says a lot about you. And the reason why I said I got so many people reaching out, a couple people texting me, talking about, the stock market crash, Trump is ruining the country. And then they corrected themselves saying, no, he's ruining the world. I'm like, the stock market's crashing. You're upset. You're upset that stocks are on sale right now. That says a lot about you. And it actually makes sense because you don't even own stocks. It's like these people are upset. They don't even own stocks. Oh, it affected my 401k. Well, good thing you don't have to touch that for a very long time. The fact when people sit here and are upset that stock prices have gone on sale, you do not have to take your money out right now. You do not have to take your money out right now. I wish that I had excess money. If I played it a little smarter, would have taken money out when it was high, taken a little bit more out. And then what do? When the stock goes low, you buy more. It's on sale. Everything goes up and down, right? So people being upset that stock prices are low and that it's a quote unquote crash, and which pretty much means that they're on sale at prices that they won't be on sale for a very long time. It's very telling when it comes to our financial literacy overall as a country. People should be excited that stocks are going down and that stocks are significantly down. Matter of fact, Skeeg is on this call. Skeeg just came on and jumped on and said, what's up? He texted me last week. And said, yo, Nike's down. Go buy Nike. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't even research it. I just went and bought Nike. My man said Nike's down. Go buy Nike. So I just bought some Nike. It's going to go back up. Just look at the stock market. It's been very consistent. If you zoom in, this is the problem with zooming in. and us having this short-term microwave mentality that we've had. When you zoom in, you see a whole lot of this, right? With the stocks. And it's like, oh my gosh, stocks are like, that's a dangerous, it's a risky thing to get involved in because it goes up and down when you zoom in. But what happens when you zoom out? It's a consistent line. The stock market has been very consistent in growing, very consistent. All right. When you zoom in, it looks like this, but when you zoom out, those don't look as jaggedy, I guess would be the right word. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
That's what we need to be talking about. How do we make the trade laws and make these things fair and bring work back to puts people to work where they can have a decent quality of life.
Yeah, and on that retirement comment, that's something Senator Bernie Sanders would agree with you on. But I think some people in the audience watching who've seen you on this show before, heard you talk, especially during the campaign at the Democratic convention and whatnot, they might be surprised to hear you saying, no, I agree with what President Trump is doing on this front. The vice president was actually asked about this earlier tonight, and this was his response to your comments.
Listen to this.
How funny is it watching Sean Fain, the auto workers union guy, who, by the way, picked the guy who picked the worst horse ever. I mean, you picked Kamala over Trump, and now he's praising the president. I bet you he's got to be embarrassed by his choice in this last election.
Well, he trashed us, but we're welcome to have everybody on the team. And Sean Fain recognizes what so many auto workers recognize, which is that President Trump's policies are great. And yes, there is some transition that's going to come along with this, but you're already seeing the evidence that things are getting better.
The guy that was interviewing J.D. Vance, he's part of the problem. I got to admit, he's part of the problem. And we all do it. And when I do it, I'm part of the problem. The reason why I'm saying he's part of the problem is because he's laughing at it, where it's like, hey, this guy that voted Kamala, this guy that wanted these things. And it is silly at some times. When you think about how some people voted, and then you have conversations about their principles, their morals, their values, how they feel about certain policies. And you're like, yo, based on what you just told me, why would you vote the way that you voted? So I understand that it can be silly, contradicting. Some people lean more emotional. Some people lean more logical. It just is what it is. But I was very impressed with his response and him overall not being caught up in trying to justify things based on who he voted for, because that's what we see happening right now. The people that voted for Kamala Harris, they want Trump to do bad. They want to highlight the things, the glass being half empty rather than half full. And on the other side, of course, the people that voted for Trump, he can't do any wrong. So therefore, you can never have an objective response to any of these things, because people are getting emotional and because you got one side getting laughed at, so they want to defend themselves. It's just how it goes. It's ego playing a role in all this stuff. But listen to what this gentleman, Sean Fain's response was.
What do you make of that?
Well, let's be blunt about it. There's a lot of things we disagree with this administration on, like eliminating contracts for, hundreds of thousands of federal workers. But on this issue, we agree on tariffs. And this is what's wrong. This is the problem of what's wrong in America right now. This is why half of Americans don't vote. Because one party gets in power and the other party blocks everything. The other party gets in power and the other party tries to block everything. And what happens in that process is the people get left behind. So it's time for leaders to step up and lead. And just because Donald Trump supports tariffs and we didn't support Donald Trump in the election doesn't mean we're going to say, well, because Donald Trump supports it now, we're going to say they're bad. We believe this is the right thing to do at this time, especially for the auto industry. And regardless of political party, we've been clear about this. We don't care what party people come from. Our mission doesn't change. We expect workers' rights to be taken care of. We expect our leaders of this country to look after working class people in this country. And that's what we stand for. There's no flip-flopping. There's no 180. It's having integrity.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that guy. I don't care what his politics are. I'm a fan of that guy. What he just broke down is exactly what more of us need to hear on both sides. Like, yo, this is why the government doesn't work. And we're going to talk a little bit later about this low-key epiphany that I had about why I think a lot of people are able, or why people are upset, and why you can have these big rallies across the countries with people, in my opinion, who are protesting something that was just built on propaganda. And what I'm talking about is these hands-off protests that we'll get into a little bit later on. I don't want to go to it right now, but the hands-off protests that we're seeing of people saying, Elon Musk, Trump, take your hands off our money. Like, yo, that's exactly what they're doing for the Department of Government Efficiency. We've been spending our money on stuff that we don't even know what it goes towards. We're so accustomed to just paying taxes. It's like we don't even realize, well, hold on, how does this work? Like, why are they taking taxes? Like, what are the benefits here? What are we paying for? We're not even aware of these things. We're not even aware of these things. Hold on, do I have a little tissue? No, I wanted to wipe my lens. But yeah, so I agree with Sean Fain. And when somebody gets in office, it's like, oh, Democrats get in office, Republicans block stuff. Republicans get in office. Then Jasmine Crockett gets asked the question of, hey, do you have actually any policies that you want to push? Or no policies right now. I'm not going to sound like a good politician, but I'm just going to be real. No policies right now. We're just trying to stop what they're doing. It's like, all right, well, the country kind of voted for them to do what they're doing. Now you're trying to stop it, but you're the party of democracy. Got you. All right, so let's move on. Let's move on. Let me take this off the screen. Let's take this off the screen. And Queez wrote, hold on, let me catch up with Queez's comment. Queez wrote, United States, are we truly united, or US it F the other side, or us versus the other side, or us it F the other side? Yeah, I got you, Queez. My fault. I'm reading it like a kindergarten student. But no, I get exactly what you're saying. It's always us versus the other side. And we don't even realize that the only people that win are the news stations, because people are going to be drawn to the stations more with more radical and more hatred and more views that are just absurd, in my opinion. And then, oh my God, Vons. Oh my God. Yo, oh my God, Vons just keeps giving it. All right, so I'm going to put Von's comment on the screen very quickly. Morning, my retirement is effed. Vons, you are 37 years old. You are 37 years old. You're not retiring tomorrow. You cannot be so short term in your thinking. My retirement is F, bro. You're 37 years old, maybe 38. And you're saying your retirement is effed. This is what I mean when I say people are really showing their true colors, or maybe as a country, we're showing a certain level of not truly understanding how stocks work. It goes up and down, bro. This is you're bro, you're 37 and you're complaining about so you're, oh my God, this is it's such a difficult conversation, because if people are just going to see, well, my stocks are down today. Let me ask you a question, Vons, and this is where the inconsistent energy always comes in when it comes to presidential and politicians that we can't stand personally. So if your stocks go up, let's say a month from now, let's say 2 months from now, let's say a year from now, your stocks go up and your retirement reaches an all-time high. Are you going to come on here and celebrate Donald Trump? I doubt it. Just like nobody celebrates Donald Trump, that this quote unquote migrant crisis, that, oh, it's been a problem for many presidents, not just Joe Biden, and Donald Trump comes in and shuts it down effortlessly. No illegal crossings, but he doesn't get credit for it. This is what happens. All right, let me not get too thrown off. But it's just it's like, yo, Nike's terrible. They're doing terrible. My Nike stock is down. Yo, give it some time. Go buy some. It's on sale. That's how it works. This is the difference this is what I mean when I say we're seeing Americans' true financial literacy. We're seeing Americans' true financial literacy. This is how the wealthy get wealthy. This just happened 4 or 5 years ago, and we said we would take advantage. 4 or 5 years ago, when stocks went down, And it was they called it one of the biggest wealth grabs in history, because what did the wealthy people do? They were smart. They saw that the stocks went down and they purchased them at a very low price. And then what ended up happening over the next what, I don't know, years, eventually the prices went back up, right? This is what happens. So when there's opportunity and chaos in every situation, rich people, bro, they know how this thing's gonna work. They smart, wealthy people. Oh my God, it's yeah. It's like we got to talk about it. All right, Elon and Trump is the beginning of another depression. Oh my God, the rich and informed. This is what happens when you get your news from The View, Bonds. You got to stop watching the ladies on The View. Queez wrote, the rich and informed benefit off people panicking now. This is it. And Bonds is a perfect example. It's like, yo, the world's coming to an end. Stocks, I don't own any stocks, but the stock market is down. Oh, my retirement, I just lost money in my retirement. You're 37. Relax. Give it some time. It's like, is it worth it? Let me ask you a question, Bonds. Let me ask you a question. For your retirement to go down, and you don't need to pull from it right now, right? You don't need to pull from it right now. Is it worth, if your retirement portfolio goes down, if that eventually means we're producing more jobs in America? We have more factories in America. We're circulating our dollars into America again. We're raising money and incentivizing other countries to bring their companies to America, their factories. Inflation is going down. If all of those things, let's put the if on it. If all of those things happen, would it be worth it? You're not touching your retirement money, bro. Like, and another thing, like, yo, people got to get out this retirement stuff, man. We got to have another conversation about this retirement. I'll be totally honest with you. Like, I talk to people, like I got some close friends that we talk about retirement, or they tell me about retirement. I don't even think about it. I'm never stopping working. Like, I don't see myself. It's like, yo, if you hate what you're doing so much, do something else and figure out a way to make money doing it. If you every day you waking up and I got to call out one of my bros too. I ain't gonna call him out personally, but yo, if you really hate what you're doing, do something else, man. Forget the 15-year countdown. Like, who wants to do that? That's not living. G wrote, look up dollar cost averaging. I'll definitely check that out. iRock wrote, I wouldn't get into crypto or stocks if you ain't willing to lose it all. You got to ride the roller coaster. It is what it is. It is what it is. Vons wrote, I hate to look at it. Queez wrote, tech, my fault. I hate to look at it. Volatility is never good. Vons, who taught what? Okay, Vons, who taught you that? Who taught you that stuff going up and down is not good? Volatility. All right. Yeah. U.S. needs to be sellers. We're the biggest buyers in our economy. And Queez, we're going to talk about this. When it comes to China in this interview with Donald Trump. All right, let's keep going on. All right, Vons, I love my job. All right, great. So you don't have to worry about retiring. Vons, are you looking for short-term gains or long-term? He's talking about a retirement, but he's looking for short-term. He's like, imagine looking at your retirement. You're looking at your retirement package. But you're looking at stocks from a short-term standpoint. It's a long-term play, Vons. It's a long-term play. It just is what it is. Appreciate that, big bro, Doug. Love the retirement quote. Short-term and long-term. All right. You win, Vons. You're right. You are right. All right, let's get into this. All right, so Jason Whitlock was talking about, and I don't know why this is in the background. Shout out to Drake. I'm still standing on Drake. Like, it is what it is. Drake won that. I don't care what y'all say. All right, but Jason Whitlock had an interesting take on the situation that we saw. I think we talked about it on Friday. It was Friday, with the young man that stabbed the other young man for sitting in his seat, or I forget the exact. I don't think all the details have exactly come out, but there was an interesting take on this. An interesting take that is probably going to get some of y'all upset. Let's get into it.
But I'm going to also explain him. Criticize Fuentes did last is what Nick Fuentes did last night. And I'm going to criticize him, but I'm going to also explain him. I'm going to explain where he's coming from, because he's
Vons. Let me be honest for a sec. Vons. You're making yourself look pretty ignorant, bro. Look at how you're commenting. Come on, man. Come on, man. We in a public forum. Like this, it's gonna go. It actually goes hand in hand with this video that we're getting ready to watch. Look at how you're writing. Matter of fact, never mind. Let me not make it a. Come on, bro. Let's do better, bro. Let's do better, bro. Let's do better.
not alone in feeling this way. But let's play the SOT number 4. Here's Nick Fuentes reacting to Austin Metcalf's murder.
And I will tell you this as plainly as possible. I don't want to live around black people. I just don't. It would be irresponsible if I had a wife and kids to live near black people. It just would be. And that's not to say that every black person is violent. It's not to say that every black person is the same way. But we watch the news. We read the papers. When you drive downtown in Chicago, you know who you got to look out for and worry about when you're thinking about whether you're going to get carjacked, when you're worried about catching a stray bullet, when you're worried about who's going to pull up on the side of the road and literally shove a rifle in your face and steal your iPhone or shoot you point blank, execution style, in Lincoln Park. We know who's doing it. I don't want to live near them. I don't want to be near them. They make me nervous. Unfortunately, we just don't know. When you're on the subway, when you're driving in your car, when you're in the city streets, you don't know whether the black person in proximity to you is one of the good ones or one of the ones who is going to summon an unbelievable, I mean, literally, for people like us, an unthinkable level of spontaneous brutality, senseless and merciless violence in an instant. We don't know. There's ambiguity. You're sitting on a subway. You look across. You see someone acting strange or aggressive. Is this someone who is going to pull out a knife and in 2 seconds slit my throat and kill me? Or is this just someone who's having a bad day? We don't know. I'm not willing to risk my life to find out. It's not worth it to me. I'm not willing to put myself in a position to find out.
That was tough to hear. It was tough to watch. And I can't say I don't feel him. That was tough to hear and tough to watch, but I can't say I don't feel him. Between us, my parents, my family, a lot of people have been looking for homes over the last few years. Whether it's an apartment home, looking at what type of neighborhood, what type of building, all these different things play a role. And if you give me the choice to live between neighborhoods that are majority black and neighborhoods that are majority white, I'd be lying to y'all if I said that 9 times out of 10, I'm not going with the majority white neighborhood. Do I feel different when I'm walking in the Bronx compared to walking in Scarsdale? Yeah. Am I more on guard when I'm in a black neighborhood compared to a white neighborhood? Yeah. Am I more on guard when I'm walking with, let's say, family or Maya in a certain type of neighborhood? Yeah. Does what he just said bother me? Does it make me upset? Do I instantly look for a way to push back against what he said? Yes. But if we're just being honest, we feel a lot of the same ways that Nick Fuentes just said, even as black people. And white people who are watching this show, don't write it in the comments. Nobody needs to write in the comments. But being honest, you feel the same way as well. Once again, I don't like that he said it. I don't like maybe the timing of it that he said it. But when I tried to push back, when I tried to find an argument, which I really did for a very long time, like, yo, nah, I'm not rocking with this. I'm not like, yo, dude is racist. I thought back to conversations that I've had with my mother. And my mom, she the first one, no, I want to move and I gotta have, she grew up in a neighborhood that maybe went to high school at a certain point in her life where right now it's very important for her to live in a diverse neighborhood. And I'm like, Ma, what you looking for? You ain't gonna find with that many black folk in the town that you're looking for. I was like, Montclair is not Montclair anymore. And a town that was like Montclair, a diverse town, you're going to pay a whole lot of money for it. It just is what it is. There's a couple of neighborhoods, I think, in Maryland. Maryland has a few different spots, but that's not the norm, if we're just being honest. That's not the norm. And see, this is the thing. And so let me catch up with the comments. Let me ask y'all this. Because this ski Unc. So Unc, I gotta ask you a question. You said it's tough to hear. What was he wrong about? What was he wrong about? Vons, you covered your face. What was he wrong about? Just tell me what he's wrong about. Well, and you're probably thinking in your head, well, all black neighborhoods are not like that. We're not saying that. We're not saying that. How about this? If you had to pick out of a hat, or let's say if you didn't know what type of neighborhood that you were going to be moving in, you weren't aware of it, and somebody said, hey, you got to live in this neighborhood that's 95% or 90% black, or you can live in a neighborhood that's 90% white. We are all lying to ourselves if we are not going to acknowledge that in our minds, when we think about the neighborhood that is 90% black, we know exactly when we close our eyes and we see that what that neighborhood looks like compared to that other neighborhood that's 90% white. Is that going to be all across the board? No. But it's going to be a whole lot of them. And that's on us to fix certain things within our community. And see, this is exactly what happens. Vons names one. Jonesboro outside Atlanta is black and safe. Vons, you live and work in Essex County, New Jersey. Why are you bringing up something in Atlanta? Why don't you bring up Newark? Why don't you bring up Irvington? Why don't you bring up East Orange? Why don't you bring up Orange? Compared to Livingston, compared to Montclair, compared to Glen Ridge. Do I need to keep going? Not being real and getting emotionally upset about something when somebody says something about us that we don't like, that's a problem, and it's a missed opportunity to grow. It's like a coach telling you something, giving you constructive criticism, but you didn't like the way that the coach said it. So therefore, you're not going to change anything about your game when actually what the coach was talking about, you need to improve on. And Unc said, I don't think that he's wrong. But we want to sit here and blame white people for all of our problems. Let's keep going. Let's hear what Jason Whitlock had to say.
What he just said is difficult to hear. It's not. And hold on, my fault. I didn't get all the comments, my fault. So Maya wrote, I think what you're discussing has to do with class. You would rather not live in a lower class neighborhood. That's not synonymous with living amongst black people or white people. Maya, what are you talking about? This is the problem. Why are you lying? Like, why are we lying? Like, why are we lying to ourselves? Where are these black neighborhoods like that you guys are referring to? Unfortunately, I know when we get mad at Donald Trump when he says black jobs and people get upset. When you look at the top 15, do we need to bring up, matter of fact, yo, this is like why do we lie to ourselves to justify making ourselves feel better? This is why we never improve anything, because we'll lie and use the exception. We'll apply the exception like it's the rule when it fits when it fits that narrative that we're looking to push, when it's trying to make ourselves feel better about a situation. We have to use the norm, not the exception. There's always going to be exceptional. Well, Jonesboro, Atlanta. Well, this PG County or like, come on, bro. Let's be honest here. There's a reason why people, when they grow up in certain neighborhoods, they can't wait to get out. Unfortunately, so you're saying that it's more class rather than race. Well, I'm going to show you why it's not what you're suggesting. Let me look up this graph. Hold on. Where was the graph? Top 15 American backgrounds, household income. We looked at this graph before, and I hope we can find it by race. Hold on. Top 15 American backgrounds, household income by race. All right, I got it right here. We got to stop lying to ourselves, bro. We got to stop this stuff. Let me get you off the screen. I don't want. All right, let me share this with you guys. The median household income in the United States by ethnic group. Y'all see it? Okay, cool. The median household. This is what the country looks like. This is what numbers look like, not emotions, not your feelings. We are at the bottom. So therefore, the majority black neighborhoods are going to be the impoverished neighborhoods. Now, we could sit here and say, well, I'm not sitting here saying that black people have a gene that they're born with that makes them more inclined to be poor, more inclined to be violent. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is when you look at the results of where black people are in America, we're at the bottom. And impoverished neighborhoods, in my opinion, those are the ones that when you just live in poverty, in my opinion, there's going to be more crime, especially in the culture that we live in, the society that we live in. It's going to be more prone to a lot of things that may go on in impoverished communities. Negative things. So don't give me the whole, well, it's not about race, it's about no, look at the numbers here. Look at the numbers here.
I'm comparing Scarsdale to the Bronx because the Bronx is a majority minority compared to Scarsdale, majority white. Do I need to think about majority white neighborhoods? Okay, I grew up in Essex County, Livingston, Cedar Grove, Montclair, Verona. I don't know, the black neighborhoods, Newark, East Orange, Irvington, Orange. Do I need to go to other counties? Elizabeth, what am I missing? Like, are we being for real here? Yet the man talking was referring to the ongoing gang situation that is not similar by far here. He said Lincoln Park, that's a beautiful area, but the gangs are now going there. I'll be honest, I don't even know where Lincoln Park was. I don't know what he's referring to. I was born and raised in the South Bronx. So was my pops. You also have to take into account that in the 60s and the 50s, it was designed that way. 100%. It was designed that way by Democratic policies, mostly led by Lyndon B. Johnson, which somebody said that Lyndon B. Johnson was actually the president that created the war on poverty. And we're going to listen to a Tom Sowell interview later on in this show where they're talking about Lyndon B. Johnson, right? That's the politics from the 60s and 50s. They put these social programs in order, claiming that they're having a war on poverty. Has poverty improved or has it gotten worse? These are not Republican policies. These are not Republican policies. Look at who's dying to move to these areas. We're not being real with ourselves. Let me keep going. Let me hear what Jason Whitlock is saying. Let me hear what Jason Whitlock's response was.
The problem, what he just said, is difficult to hear. It's not the proper reaction, but it's not insanity. And the reason I say that, and look, this is the first time I believe I've ever talked about Nick Fuentes in any detail on this show, because I really hadn't paid much attention to.
If it's okay with y'all, I want to fast forward because we got a lot to cover this show. Hold
on. A fraud. But he said, I believe, the exact same thing Nick want to be heir to.
Listen,
I get his response, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I believe it was in 1993. Jesse Jackson, the leader of the Rainbow Coalition, the wannabe heir to Martin Luther King, said more concisely the exact same thing Nick Fuentes just said there. And Jesse Jackson, I believe, terrible leader, a heretic, a fraud, but he said the exact same thing. This is a very famous quote from Jesse Jackson. I want to read the whole thing in its entirety. He said, we must face the number one critical issue of our day. It is youth crime in general and black-on-black crime in particular. There is nothing more painful to me at this stage in my life than to walk down the street and hear footsteps and start thinking about robbery. Then look around and see somebody white and feel relieved. After all we have been through, just to think we can't walk down our own streets. How humiliating.
This is Jesse Jackson. You know, Jesse Jackson, the one that was rocking with MLK, I believe was even there when MLK got shot. This is that Jesse Jackson, the one that fought in the civil rights movement, the one that ran for president, the one that Donald Trump actually contributed money to support his campaign. I believe he was one of the, Jesse Jackson's biggest contributors when Jesse Jackson ran for president. Jesse Jackson, did he not just say the same thing that Nick Fuentes said? So why is a quote unquote white supremacist saying the same thing that Jesse Jackson said. And I assume that this is a quote from a while ago when it comes to Jesse Jackson. Because you don't hear leaders talking about this. Because when you have Byron Donalds point out certain things that are real in the Black community, you have people switching up his words saying that, oh, he was celebrating Jim Crow. People are not honest with us. They're not honest with us. Let me move this light. Hold on. People are not honest with us. And hold on. And shout out to Mama Lay. I know I missed one of your comments earlier. Y'all got the comments coming in. Keep them coming in. Make sure everybody's paying attention to the comments, even if I don't necessarily read it. I'm looking at it. Jesse Jackson is also referring to Chicago. That's why I moved from Chicago too. Chicago, Baltimore, the Bronx. Like, wait, if you're in LA, you want to be in a Black neighborhood or you want to be in a white neighborhood? See, and people are going to hear this and be like, oh my God, like, Dak sounds racist. Dak sounds insensitive. No, I'm being honest. So hopefully we can look at this thing through an honest lens and change it. We're not stuck in the position that we're in right now. I know it may feel that way, but we are not stuck here. There are simple, let me emphasize that, simple things that we can do, not necessarily easy, but there are simple things that can be done to improve violence and poverty. There are simple things that can be done, but because we've had these politicians that fake like they're trying to make certain changes, when in all actuality, they're just trying to radicalize you, get you all emotional and riled up so you'll follow them. If they solve the problem, they're getting rid of their job. They're firing themselves from a job. If an activist solves the issue that they're fighting against, they just fired themselves from that particular job. If you hire me to do X, you ever worked with an attorney? They keep, not all attorneys, right? They could probably do work in about the work that it may take to do in a week. They will have that take 2 months, come back to you, figure it out, because they're trying to drag you along because they know once they fix your issue, they are firing themselves. You no longer need them. This is, I don't even know what Vons is talking about. Donald ain't smart. I'm sorry you lost with that one. Vons, how arrogant. This is what these Democrats don't realize. How arrogant. Vons, what makes you, I'm like, in your mind, I assume that you think you're smart. In your mind, how do we just say these type of things about certain type of people, like Trump's not smart? So pretty much you're just saying that you're smarter than the 50-something million people that voted for him. This is where Democrats go wrong. You realize when you say certain things like that, the people that voted for Trump, you're insulting their intelligence. And I don't even understand why you would say that Donald Trump is not smart. Donald Trump was a businessman, successful businessman. I know people will say he's not. Okay, cool. All those people that say he's not, they don't seem to be business people, but okay, cool. Then became president. Not only became president once, took a L. They tried to put the DOJ against him, put all these charges against him, got convicted as a felon, and still became president. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, that's because America's a racist country. That just shows that now Donald Trump's not smart. It's like, come on, bro. It's like, but these are the majority of, this is how the majority of people think. I'm telling y'all, I had some conversations over the weekend where the last part of this show was going to be talking about grace. And I'm not sure if y'all saw the thumbnail. We really live in a world where everybody bases whether something is right or wrong based on their individual experience. That's how people become so emotional. Everybody bases whether something's right or wrong, whether somebody's a good person or bad person, based on their individual experience. Do we understand how selfish that is? If I only based how the world is based on my personal experience, if I only base what I feel about the world based on my personal experience, what would that look like? That is why people can perhaps become, and it's dangerous, and it works on both sides. That is why when people become radicalized with, let's say, a Kevin Samuels or an Andrew Tate, or these people that are seen on that side, I understand why it can be negative. Now, when I hear it, I'm taking away certain things that I think that are beneficial. But based on somebody else's experience, they may hear some of that stuff and be like, yo, this is oppressive. It's based on your experience. If you grew up in a certain type of household, if you went to school with a certain type of people, if you had these type of experiences in life, but that's not the global societal status, I guess you would say. That's not the state. Just because you went through it personally does not mean that it's well, because I went through this, because when I bought a car, this is how I was treated, so this is how it should. We can't look at stuff like that. We can, but you're going to have a very selfish, narrow scope of what the world is if you only look at it through the lens that you see it. All right, let's what is Vaughn's time? If ICE was to show up at my house when my grandma was alive, I'm crashing out. Okay, you crash out. Where does that get you? Emotional, right? You realize, Vaughn's, all of your comments are aligning with what they're talking about in the video. If ICE was to show up at my house when my grandma was alive, I'm crashing out. Okay, cool. You think you're going to make an impact? Oh, Vaughn's got locked up for crashing out and standing up for his grandmother. Okay. Tomorrow, nobody's going to think about it. It's not going to matter. You think people in town are going to protest and say free Vaughn's? No, nobody's going to care. Nobody's going to care. Just being honest. Nobody's going to care. Let's keep going. Matter of fact, I want to move on to, I think we finished with this one. Let's keep going. To, we'll listen to, I want to play this Trump interview with y'all. Just to get your thoughts. Where do we have this? Just to get everybody. Matter of fact, no, we're going to play Tom Sowell. We're going to play this Thomas Sowell interview before we get to Trump. I hope that we take this as an opportunity to learn from one of the most intelligent people I believe that's out there. One of the most intelligent people that we have. And for all those people that identify as liberals, as Democrats, maybe this is something that I don't know. I think we all can learn from it. Let's take a look at it.
So it's not Sowell versus blacks, it's the black intellectuals. And the black intellectuals are no more typical of the black population than white intellectuals are of the white population. But they have a very large vested interest in certain beliefs which underlie various programs from which they benefit enormously. And as I point out in the book, this is common around the world, that the elites benefit from preferential programs, even when those programs are in the name of the masses. The masses do not benefit.
So this video is pretty much talking about Thomas Sowell, one of the most intelligent brothers out here. The elites in the Democratic establishment, they can't stand him. They don't highlight him. It's another one of those, well, you know, we support black people, but only if you're Democrat. Only if you see the world the same way we see it.
You've mentioned a couple of times how you say things and think differently than others. Mm-hmm. And I want to read, it'll take me just a minute here to read this paragraph and ask you to explain it further. This is deep in the book. and when I read it, it kind of popped out, and I wanted to ask you what you meant by all this. Say, any fundamental re-examination of the assumptions behind preferential policies. That's the name of the book. And still more so, any resulting change of policies can expect to encounter their vocal, bitter, and determined opposition, including inevitable charges of racism against outsiders, labels of traitor put on any members of their own group who disagree with them, who disagree publicly with them, and whatever other claims or charges seem likely to be politically effective. When you said labels of traitor put on any members of their own group who disagree publicly with them, were you talking about yourself?
Only as one among many. Randall Kennedy up at Harvard did a very fine article in the Harvard Law Review last June, for which he was denounced as an academic minstrel and other things because he was out of step. I mean, people who raise their heads will set off a search and destroy mission because people have a lot at stake and they're sitting on a house of cards. They have many assumptions which simply cannot be examined carefully because those assumptions will collapse and they'll fall from a very high position to a very low position. And they are not about to tolerate people questioning what they're saying. Is
there a way for you to put it in a nutshell about what people of, say, your own race say about you that they don't like what you say about you?
I think one of the ways that the organized noisemakers have succeeded is saying that what they're saying is what their race is saying. My race is not saying that about me. Those particular individuals who are a small minority themselves within the black community, who have a vested interest in many of these programs, they are saying that. But when I checked out of my hotel this morning, you know, the black security guard came over and says, "Are you Sowell?" And I said, "Yes." And he shook my hand warmly, and he walked me the length of the corridor and talked about this and about that. And that's not at all an uncommon experience for me. So it's not Sowell versus blacks, it's the black intellectuals. And the black intellectuals are no more typical of the black population than white intellectuals are of the white population. But they have a very large vested interest in certain beliefs which underlie various programs from which they benefit enormously. And as I point out in the book, this is common around the world, that the elites benefit from preferential programs, even when those programs are in the name of the masses. The masses do not benefit. In the case of the current so-called Civil Rights Act, the masses are going to lose big if that law goes into effect.
Why?
Because employers will not want to hire as many blacks in the jobs for which most blacks will be applying, because those will not be jobs as rocket scientists or as doctors or as any of those things. And therefore, they'll want to hold down percentages down there to what they can do in the higher ranks, which is going to be much less. And so you're sacrificing the working class blacks for the benefit of the professional elite.
How do the intellectual elite, both white and black, get to the position that they do in this country that you disagree with?
I mean, how do they have the influence they have?
Well, no, but what's their, from what your discussions over the years, what's their thought process that gets them there? Is it emotion or is it fact?
Emotion largely, but also a large amount of self-interest, increasingly.
Self-interest. We have to have self-interest. The self-interest of the people that are trying to push us in a particular direction, trying to radicalize us, trying to force us to make sense of things that just don't make sense. They have self-interest. This is what Jason Whitlock was talking about when he was talking about Jesse Jackson. This is what we mean when we talk about Al Sharpton. The majority of these politicians have self-interest, just like the majority of us have self-interest, which is why we tend to see the world only through the lens and our individual experience. We see the world through our lens. That's it. The majority of us are selfish. So why do we think that these politicians, these people in power, these influencers, why do we think that they're holier than thou? Why do we hold them to a certain standard that we know we don't even live by? And we don't even have some of the things that are dangled in front of us like that are dangled in front of these people.
Self-interest. I think that if you went back largely, but also a large amount of self-interest, increasingly self-interest. I think that if you went back, into the 60s, you'd find people with different views like Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. But I think that both those men believed in what they said. Whereas today, you have people who are simply professional hustlers. And again, this is not peculiar to blacks or peculiar to the United States or even peculiar to racial issues. That organizations typically, many movements are set off by idealistic people who want to promote some good for mankind or for some group. But as time goes by and as they succeed, they'll be followed by people who can use these things for their own self-interest. And that's been the history of regulatory agencies in the government. It's been the history of, I think, of religions, that the first Christians who were being persecuted by the Roman Empire were not in it, for what they could get, because all they were going to get is trouble. But once Christianity became the state religion, this became a very lucrative career for some people. And then you get an entirely different kind of person coming in at that point, and we can have an entirely different kind of movement.
What liberals really think about
How do the anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways.
And very quickly, let me interject, and please like and subscribe as you're listening. I'm really trying not to comment as much with Tom Sowell. We just need to listen to him. I don't need to comment on, like, I just want y'all to hear him. I want y'all to hear him. He's one of the most intelligent people on the planet. One of the most sensible and logical people. I just want y'all to hear him out.
And then you get an entirely different kind of person coming in at that point, and we can have an entirely different kind of movement.
So what liberals really think about conservatives?
How do the anointed refer to people they don't agree with?
All sorts of ways, but I think the main thing is they believe that you're not merely in error, but in sin. In other words, they can't believe that you're just mistaken. You must have sold out. You must be something warped about you.
You guys are for the rich. You guys only care about the rich guys. Answer that. How do you respond? Liberal says conservatives only care about rich people.
Well, one of the things I go into in the book is that the whole notion of rich is ridiculous. That most Americans don't stay in the same income bracket, even for 1 decade. So the same guy who is, quote, rich now was 20 years ago probably in the bottom 20%. I mean, I was on a cruise recently, a luxury cruise, and the guy said, if someone had told me when I was growing up that I would end up on a cruise like this, I would have said, get real, man. That very few people are in that same income bracket the whole time. Right. The genuinely rich and the genuinely poor, I would estimate to be no more than 3% of the American people.
Really?
Put together.
Really?
Yes.
Genuinely poor. Now, I'm seeing numbers like, when they were talking about health care, they said, 30 million people couldn't afford it or something?
Several million of those were making more than $50,000 a year. So it's not, see, this is one of the things the anointed do. They never believe that people make choices. There are people who have the money, they prefer to put that money into a BMW rather than into
a lot of young people didn't want health care. They were betting on their health.
Absolutely. And then this allows them to buy more stuff that they want to buy. So it's not a question that they couldn't afford it. It's a question they don't choose to spend the money.
What about mean-spirited? Conservatives are mean-spirited. They're bigots. They don't like people.
Well, one of the things I tell people say, you're a very tough person. I'm not tough. Life is tough. I'm merely trying to acquaint you with those facts.
Back in the 60s, Lyndon Johnson announced a war on poverty. Am I wrong? But there are more poor people. I mean, in other words,
today than there were then, yes.
Yeah, there are more poor people. Yes. I mean, this was a hell of a war. We lost it, apparently, because for the last 30 years, we've been dumping money into these poverty programs.
Oh, absolutely.
Where's the money go?
Oh, it supports a whole industry of people who run those programs, who talk about those programs, research those programs, bureaucrats, and so on.
Doesn't help poor people.
No. The tragedy, you see, is that the anointed really want to make symbolic statements. And running these programs makes those symbolic statements. They don't really care if in the wake of affirmative action, for example, companies start locating away from minority communities so they don't even get involved in legal action. They don't care about that. They've made their statement on the side of the angels, and that's what's important.
Have you ever debated Jesse Jackson?
No, I haven't.
Is that because, would you like to, or would he not want to do that?
I have no idea.
You'd be willing to, I assume.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
You think that's too much showbiz?
It is. There are people who go out and do this, and I'm doing less and less of it. And I tell them the story of an African boxing champion who fought an Irishman in St. Patrick's Day in Dublin. and he lost his title on what the sports writers called a questionable decision.
Yes.
And so you have to know what forum you're talking about.
Right.
I saw Shelby Steele on with him, and I said, you know, if Jesse Jackson and Shelby Steele each had to present a 2-hour lecture to an audience with an average IQ of 120, Shelby would wipe him out. But if they had 5 seconds each on Donahue, it would be Jesse Jackson all the way.
Right.
So everything.
And the reason why it would be Jesse Jackson all the way is because that's how we receive information. Now, I don't know what year he's saying that's in, but just think about how we receive information now with social media and everything. This is why they have to grab us with emotion, because they know that we're not going to sit there and truly hear something out. There's literally rallies. 500,000 people around the country are rallying about having Elon Musk keep his hands off of Social Security, having Donald Trump keep his hands off of Medicaid, all this stuff, when they've never said it, that they're going to touch it. Now, whether they do, I guess we'll have to wait and see. But they've never said it. The things that Elon Musk said, it's like he called it a Ponzi scheme. Well, when you look at how it works, I mean, it kind of operates like that. Elon, everything I heard Elon say is that he wants to give people the option. I don't want my money going into Social Security. Maybe you do. Cool. You should be able to opt in. I should be able to opt out. Oh, if I don't opt in, you're not able to pay everybody. Well, that's not my problem. That sounds like a mismanagement of funds based on the Social Security Department. Let's move on. Let me make sure I catch up with some of the comments. Appreciate you, Unc, man. I appreciate that, Unc. I'm looking forward to having you on. I'm looking forward to having you on a consistent basis, giving us that stock info. So definitely interested in that. Let's make sure that we're liking and subscribing. Please, please, please. I want to share just the end of this clip, because when I was listening to Thomas Sowell, I remembered a clip that I had just heard, and I wanted you guys to look at the end of this.
I think we might have some disagreement is that income inequality has become an increasing problem in American society.
Take a look at
This
this.
is something that a lot of really aggressive free market people will say is no big deal because the economy is not a zero-sum game, right? When the rich get richer, then everybody else comes up with them. A rising tide lifts all boats. But that's not the case with the way that our current trade imbalance works, because the money that we're spending on all of these goods that are produced by these wealthy people is either going to the wealthy people or being exported to other countries. Those dollars aren't staying in America. So that's not a sustainable way of running an economy, in my opinion. And there are basically two ways that you can address that income inequality, which leads to all kinds of societal ills and
So I want y'all to hear this part. This is the part that I wanted y'all to hear. She said there's two ways. Listen.
So that's not a sustainable way of running an economy, in my opinion. And there are basically two ways that you can address that income inequality, which leads to all kinds of societal ills and disunity and discordance. One is to tax the rich and redistribute the money to the lower classes. The other is to have a mass tariff policy and try to make sure that these people have productive, meaningful work. And I would view the latter as a healthier, more productive way to run an economy.
And of course, I would view the former as a more healthy, but you know.
Did you hear what he just said? That's a more healthy way. Let me play that one more time. Hold on.
Classes. The other is to inequality, which leads to all kinds of societal ills and disunity and discordance. One is to tax the rich and redistribute the money to the lower classes.
So there's two options. One option, tax the rich and redistribute that money to the lower classes. And the next option.
The other is to have a mass tariff policy and try to make sure that these people have productive, meaningful work. And I would view
the second is having the tariffs, using the tariffs to incentivize more companies and factories to build and manufacture in America, which is going to provide more jobs to Americans. She said that she obviously views the latter, which is building more factories and empowering more people by giving them jobs. Listen to his response.
Latter as a healthier, more productive way to run an economy.
And of course, I would view the former as a more healthy, but you know.
He thinks it's healthier to take money from the rich, wealthy, whatever you want to call them, and redistribute it to the poor. This is the Democrat versus conservative, liberal versus conservative argument. Think about that. If you gave people in poverty yo, let's just take the money from, like, there's so many things that are wrong with that. For one, it's like, wait, you just because I make more money, you think you should take more from me to support people who haven't made the money for whatever reason? That's not even the part that I'm going to talk about. The part that he believes, he doesn't understand that poverty is also, there's a huge mental part of this. The answer is to not just throw money at poor people and then 10, 15 years later think that, oh yeah, they're going to make more money. This is the problem. This is exactly what social programs have done. When Lyndon B. Johnson established this war on poverty, that's what Tom Sowell was talking about. That's what Unc was talking about in the chat, looking at the 50s and 60s. These policies, and we've been convinced because Democrats say, no, take money from the rich and throw it at the poor. How? What way? How are you going to roll it out? Does it actually work? Do the numbers show? After social programs, after welfare, after pushing all these type of social programs, giving assistance and incentivizing women to not have men in the household, has it been more productive or less productive? But this is what this gentleman is saying. He literally, like, yo, how can you as a man even say something like this? Like, yeah, take money from the wealthy people and just give it redistribute it to the poor. Like, what, bro? Like, how does this, like, that's really what we're doing right now? Maybe I'm off though. Maybe I'm off. Like, this is wild. Queens wrote, you tax the rich CEOs and owners of the company, the workers will feel it more than them. It's like, yo, Queens, this is a great point that you brought up because nobody seems to think about this. Everybody's like, oh, the tariffs, they're going to drive up the price because the companies they're not going to lose their margin. So to keep their margin, they're going to have to charge the consumers more. Nobody ever draws the connection that you just made, Queens. Oh yeah, tax the CEOs, tax the wealthy people. And if they have the same mindset that you're describing when it comes to the tariffs of the companies that are going to keep their margin, so therefore they're going to charge the consumers more, then wouldn't the wealthy people do the same thing? But we don't draw those connections. We don't connect those dots. I got you. Queens wrote, USA needs to produce, manufacture, and sell goods and stop buying so dang much. It's a fact. Trickle-down economics never worked. I agree. Let's look at this Trump interview. It's actually exactly what we're talking about right now. So it's a great segue. Let me get that up on the screen. Trump defense tariff. So I guess he's doing these interviews on a plane. Like, I was confused. Let's take a look at it.
When you look at the trade deficit, the fact that we have $1 billion trade deficit. When you look at,
and bear with the sound, it's the plane, it's not me.
The trade deficit that we have with certain countries, way over $1 billion per country. But with China, it's $1 trillion. And we have to solve our trade deficit with China. We have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China. And unless we solve that problem.
When he says that we have a trade deficit, do people understand, like, do the majority of Americans, like, do we understand what that means? When China has a surplus and we have a deficit, and the reason why we're charging them tariffs, they make more money off of us than we make on them. When you go to China, you don't see everything saying made in the USA. When you're in America, everything is made in China. They are selling us stuff, but not buying from us. Let's say that you and your friend have a company. You and your friend are starting a business, right? You support their business all the time. You're constantly buying products from them. But they don't buy from you and support your business. Does that seem fair? Like, can we simplify it? Can we simplify it just to that standpoint? You and your friend have a business. You sell, I don't know, let's say you sell t-shirts. They sell jeans. You sell shirts, they sell jeans. You buy all the jeans from your friend, but your friend never buys t-shirts from you. Does this not make sense? Like, is it not super simple? This is why we have to charge tariffs. Now, because my friend, he doesn't want to buy t-shirts from me and I'm constantly supporting his business. You know what, bro? Yo, I got to charge you a tariff. You keep selling me all this stuff. I keep buying jeans from you, or I keep buying jeans from you. You're not buying any t-shirts from me. We got to figure something else out here. You got to pay a tax or something, a tariff. You got to pay something. You got to pay something, or give me some type of, I don't know what it is. But I can't just support you. That's what is Nipsey Hussle, all money in, right? Now, not all money in, right? When in this type of situation, when you're working with somebody, but I'm going to give you a certain amount, you're going to give me. That's how people support each other's businesses. So why do we not understand that Donald Trump does not want to continue to allow China to take advantage of us and have this surplus while we have a deficit, which destroys our economy?
Of our trade deficit with China, we have $1 trillion trade deficit with China. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year we lose with China, and unless we solve that problem, I'm not going to make a deal. Now, I'm willing to deal with China, but they have to solve their surplus. We have a tremendous deficit problem with China. They have a surplus of at least $1 trillion a year. I think it's like $1.1 trillion, and I want that solved. And no other president's taken it on. I had to take it on the last time, and then we had a rigged election. No other president's taken it on. And so China is, they say the market's spoken. China is right now taking a big hit because everyone knows we're right. They have to pay tariffs because otherwise we have a surplus, that they have a surplus with us that is not sustainable.
Mr. President.
And we're talking about $1 trillion, you know that, right? We're not going to lose $1 trillion for the privilege of buying pencils from China.
On the idea of crashing the markets on purpose, there's been some speculation, partly because of the video that was posted on Truth Social, that there was some sort of deliberate effort on your part to have the market sell off. Can you talk about that?
No, that's not so. But I do want to solve the deficit problem that we have with China, with the European Union and other nations. And they're going to have to do that. And if they want to talk about that, I'm open to talking. But otherwise, why would I want to talk? And as you know, because of the tariffs, we have $7 trillion already committed to be invested in the United States, building auto plants, building chip companies, and all sorts of companies are coming into our country at levels that we've never seen before. Biden had nothing coming in. This was a dead country with Biden. He didn't know what he was doing, and that's now been proven at least.
Trump, this weekend, you talked to a lot of leaders this weekend. Can you tell?
Yo, this is something that I've been noticing, and I made these comments, and I'm glad Bonds wrote what he just wrote. Thank you, Bonds. Appreciate you. I want to go to my notes. You know what the real issue is? You know what people like Bonds are scared of, and the liberals are scared of? We've had a problem for a very long time, right? $36 trillion in debt that no president has been able to solve or get on the right track, however you want to describe it. You know what the real problem is? It can be a few things. But I think that because nobody actually believes in the government, nobody actually believes in these politicians, nobody believes that they can really make a difference in their lives because politicians have never done anything. They've always talked. We're so accustomed to hearing them talk and not doing anything. We're so accustomed to hearing them say, hey, we're going to move this 100 points that way. And us be okay with, well, it moved over 1 or 2. Just giving an example. I'm not even points, whatever, you could use whatever you want. We're so accustomed to them delivering on less than 5% of the promises that they make that people are actually very nervous with Donald Trump doing what he's doing. And because we've been, and before I get to Trump, sticking on the point as far as the politicians never delivering on anything, there's always been a different standard between politicians and business people. Politicians can make promises and deliver on 5% of them, and we still support them because we get emotionally triggered to hate the other side so much. A business, we can have one bad experience at a business out of 100 and never go back to that business again. Go on Twitter, talk about that business, talk about the person that you dealt with. They had an attitude, they disrespected you. Politicians have never had to deliver. So when Donald Trump brings this business-minded approach to the government, it makes a lot of people nervous. There's people like Vons, I think, that just don't think that any politicians are going to do anything. So they'll see a guy like Trump, and it's almost like, well, he's trying to do something that everybody else said that they were trying to do, and he's doing it, but I don't like the way he's doing it. And I really don't think in the long term he's going to be successful. And what I really mean by that is I hope he's not successful because I don't like him personally. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. People know what Donald Trump is doing makes sense. I believe that the majority of people know what Donald Trump is doing makes sense. I don't think that you can listen to anything that he said so far in this exchange to where you're like, nah, that doesn't make any sense. And if there was, then tell me what it was that didn't make sense. All I hear are comments like Vons when I talk to people. Y'all think this American-ish going to be the answer. What are you criticizing, Vons? What do you disagree with what he just said? I had a conversation over the weekend where a buddy of mine, he may be listening right now. A buddy of mine, I'm going to go back to the conversation. It was literally, he would ask me certain questions and I would answer. He would ask me certain questions. Like, I'll give you an example. We were talking about the border. We're talking about Israel. We're talking about biological men in sports. We're talking about all these different things, right? He's asking me if I regret voting for Trump. He's asking me if I regret voting for Trump. I'm like, no, like Trump has pretty much delivered on all the things that I expected him to deliver on. And I said before the election, the one thing that I knew was going to be an issue for me is how he deals with Israel. I said that. But then when I say I'm not disappointed in him, I get called MAGA. And it's like, wait, you're trying to convince me that I'm disappointed in voting for Trump. Then when I say I'm not disappointed, he refers to me being MAGA. So he's asking me all these questions that I answer. Then when I start asking him questions, he doesn't answer them. I'm like, yo, what issue do you have with what Trump's done so far? What issue here? What issue here? Do you not agree with the migrant policy? Do you not agree with this? Do you not agree with bringing more jobs into America? And he just won't answer. And I'll say, well, why are you you're continuing to ask me questions, but you haven't answered any of my questions? Well, I can answer them, but he doesn't answer them. These people are not serious individuals when it comes to their thinking. They're not being logical when they're trying to go to all sorts to rationalize why they should hate Donald Trump. Now, let me get back to my notes because I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent. People know what Donald Trump is doing makes sense, but they ignore it. They ignore it for the pain that we have to go through to fix things, right? To fix anything, you're going to have to go through something, right? To fix anything. It just is what it is. There's going to be certain things that come across. And I think Donald Trump said it in this, where he's like, yo, to fix something, sometimes you got to take medicine. You don't like the way the medicine tastes. That's a perfect analogy. But we're not willing to go through certain pain points if we don't think that what the president is doing is actually going to work. And people are trying to convince themselves, even though what Donald Trump is doing makes sense, because I speak to a whole lot of moderates and they're like, yeah, I understand what he's doing, but, the prices are going. They understand what he's doing. They understand what he's doing. And I want to, hold on, let me make sure that Trump is doing it, but ignore it for the pain that we have to go through to fix things. All right, so I wrote a couple notes down, just some thoughts. And I think that another reason why people are rooting against Trump is because If Donald Trump is successful, that puts a whole lot of pressure on a whole lot of people. If Donald Trump is successful, it is going to change the entire landscape of politics, even more so than he's already done. That's just my opinion. If Donald Trump is able to get in as a president, wasn't a lifelong politician, and really take strides into solving issues that lifelong politicians were not able to make a dent in, that says a lot about former Democrats and former Republican presidents. Both. It says a lot. It puts more accountability to actually deliver on things, not to deliver on 5% of the things that you've been presenting. So it's just different. It's just different. Let's keep going with the interview. But this whole notion of y'all think this American is going to be the answer, Vons, what do you disagree with? Look at the comments that Vons write. Elon is a joke. How did we get here? Tell me what they're doing wrong rather than name calling. Tell me what issue you have with one of their policies. And tell me even more so what suggestions that you would have in order to do it different and do it better. But they can never do that. Their only go-to is to criticize the things that Donald Trump is doing. Dang. And this is where you lose everybody, Vons. Soul not living reality. He's a lost Negro, Uncle Ruckus vibes. This is why people all over the world, white and black, look at Black Americans like we are some of the most ignorant people on the planet. Our most intelligent people, we don't listen to. But instead, we are influenced by the Jasmine Crockett's, the Ayanna Presleys, the AOCs, the Cardi B's, the Meg the Stallions. I'm just naming all the people that were at the Kamala Harris and Democratic events. Those are the people that we prioritize listening to. Those are the people that have an influence on our culture. And Thomas Sowell, because he doesn't agree with the Democratic establishment, because he doesn't agree with Al Sharpton, Vons, he's an Uncle Ruckus. Meanwhile, Al Sharpton, we don't look at him as the Uncle Ruckus because Democrats, Black Democrats, like it or not, you are a slave to the Democratic Party. You are a slave and have been a slave for a very long time to the Democratic Party. And the only reason that you come so hard at the Republicans is because deep down you feel bad about being a slave to the Democrats. Deep down you feel bad about being a slave to the liberals. But rather than to address your own insecurities that have been created by you constantly voting one way and it not delivering anything for you, instead of you acknowledging that, looking in the mirror and saying, you know what, maybe I should do something different here, you continue to run in the wrong direction even faster. That's the problem. Our most intelligent people, exactly what he was talking about, think about it, exactly what Thomas Sowell was talking about in his video, Vons is doing in his comment. Tom Sowell, like we're talking about Thomas Sowell here. He's talking about how Black leaders, Black elites, Black liberals have used their voice to make people like Vons and the Black community hate somebody like a Tom Sowell. Meanwhile, what has Al Sharpton ever done? What did Barack do for you? What has Jasmine Crockett done for you? What has AOC, what have all these people done? But instead, we will totally disregard a Tom Sowell just to rationalize our feelings about our Democrat oppressor. But we'll look at Tom Sowell as the Uncle Ruckus. No, y'all Democrats that continue to vote Democrat, y'all are just slaves to the Democratic Party. You can call yourself field Negroes, you can call yourself house Negroes. But let's just be honest. The reason why you won't even consider another option is because you are mentally captured by the Democratic Party. Now, of course, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about the people that say comments like, I mean, Vons is out there. He's saying it. It is what it is. You can have your opinion. Cool. But this is just my opinion. You're allowed to have your opinion, but this is just mine. Calling Thomas Sowell Uncle Ruckus. Wow. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going with the interview.
Were there any deals made?
I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that, because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or we're at worst going to be breaking even. But China would be the worst in the group, because the deficit is so big and it's not sustainable. And you know, I was elected on this. This was one of the biggest reasons I got elected, was exactly because of this. And we're going to put tariffs, we've already put them on. It's not a question of we will. We're going to put them on. And those tariffs next year will make us $1 trillion. In addition to the $1 trillion, thousands of companies are going to relocate back into the United States. In North Carolina, already furniture people are starting to move back in. In Detroit and Michigan, which I won, because of what I said, what I'm telling you, car companies are starting to open up. In Indiana, a big one is under construction, as an example, Honda. But they're moving in like nobody has ever seen this before. So it's unsustainable for us to allow China to have surpluses of $1 trillion. We will be taking in over $1 trillion over the next short period of time with the tariffs that I've already instituted. They're already in place. Now, what's going to happen with the market, I can't tell you, but I can tell you our country has gotten a lot stronger. And eventually, it'll be a country like no other. It'll be the most dominant country economically in the world,
Mr. President,
which is what it should be.
Is there a Trump put, though? Is there pain in the market at some point? You're unwilling to tolerate this idea of a Trump put? Is there?
Watch this. I'm gonna give y'all another example. So Cuzzo wrote, Vons, their plan makes sense. Vons wrote, no, it don't. Vons, what about their plan doesn't make sense? So I want to agree with you today. Just tell me what about their plans doesn't make sense. And if what you're saying makes sense, I'll agree with you. What about their plan doesn't make sense? I'm just wondering. That's all.
Is there a threshold?
I think your question is so stupid. I mean, I think it's I don't want anything to go down. But sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And
sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. Oh, you want to lose weight? Oh, you want to lose weight? You don't think that's going to be a painful process? You want to learn how to become a barber? You want to learn how to be? You want to join the police academy? You don't think that there's going to be pain and sacrifice in those processes? Maybe that's why our country is so obese, because we think that in order to accomplish something, we shouldn't have to sacrifice anything. We shouldn't have to go through any pain points. You mean I have to sweat? You mean I have to actually squat to the point where it puts me in discomfort? Have you ever done a Pilates class? Legree, do Legree, not Pilates. Have you ever done a Legree class, the Pilates with weights, resistance? It's an hour of discomfort. You're in discomfort the entire time. Pain is what builds. What happened to no pain, no gain? We have become a simple-minded group of people that only sees things short-term, that only looks for microwave fixes, that does not want to sacrifice anything in order to receive anything. This is what happens when you give people handouts and convince them that they're victims. People that don't think they need to work for anything, people that don't understand there's a give and take, that there's a sacrifice, that there's pain that you have to go through to feel pleasure on the other side.
We have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen. They took our businesses, they took our money, they took our jobs, they moved it to Mexico.
Listen to what Vons just wrote, bro. This is crazy, bro. This is wicked work, Bonds. Yo, Bonds, bro. So I asked Bonds what's wrong with their plans. He deported the people that want to work in the factories. Yes, Bonds. They do come over here and want to work in factories. And you know what that does? That takes away jobs from other Americans that can be working in those factories. Bonds, have a conversation with your parents and your grandparents. Remember how they used to talk about how Michigan and Detroit, look, Detroit didn't always look like how it looks like right now. But when we lost all the manufacturing in Detroit, what happened? In poverty. People used to be able to have factory jobs, take care of their families, send their kids off to college, all these factory jobs. Think about what you just wrote, bro. You're absolutely right. He deported people that want to work in the factories. These people will want to work in the factories, which is why Donald Trump, when you didn't like it, and he said, yeah, they're taking away black jobs. When these people that come in illegally, they see more opportunity. They are willing to work for less than what other people are willing to work for in America. So if you have like, this is what people don't even realize, Vons. You think the Democratic Party is for the people in poverty, for the lower class, the middle class? No. Do you understand that it would benefit the elites? It would benefit the factory workers. These big time companies, it would benefit them. They want to be able to, shoot, just bring some migrants in. We'll pay them under the table, or we'll pay them half than what we got to pay these lazy Americans. Think about what you just wrote, Vons, and connect the dots. You're not making it make sense, brother. If you have millions of migrants come in here that are willing to work for less than what you're willing to work for, and do more and hustle harder on the job and do all this, you're bringing in competition to compete against people in America, and you're lowering the curve on the test. If somebody's willing, this is why we got to understand how businesses work. Let's say we all have businesses. We all have businesses. We all sell t-shirts, right? You got a t-shirt line, you got a t-shirt line, you got a t-shirt line. If we all understand and we have a conversation with each other and we're like, yo, in order for us to have any type of margin in this space, we got to charge at least $20 for these t-shirts. But let's say somebody else comes in and they say, nah, I'm charging $10. I'm charging $10 because I get it from somewhere else that doesn't feed our economy. They don't got to pay the people proper wages. They got the kids working in sweatshops. They could do whatever, produce the so I'm charging 10. Meanwhile, the companies that are charging 20 for their t-shirts, they actually are hiring people in America, giving Americans jobs. So we'd be recirculating that money into American jobs. And when that person who's selling that t-shirt for $10 receives their money from Americans, they're sending it back to their company that's based in a different country. That's what's happening. And now you want to bring people in. You want to bring people in to compete with you, bro. You want people to come in here illegally. Let's be real, bro. When we talk about if you looking out for the black population, let's be real. Let's be honest with ourselves. The black population is in no position to be able to compete with some of these people that are coming in from these different countries. These people are ready to work, ready to do whatever. Americans are lazy. We have all these opportunities, and the entire world looks at us and thinks that we're lazy in America because we don't take advantage of them. We still talking about the impact of slavery, the impact of this and that. Okay, cool. It's justified. We will always be able to live in this country, and we will always have the valid excuse of saying, I'm not in this position because of slavery. Cool. You can have that excuse. Your kids can have that excuse. Your grandkids can have that excuse. And as long as you and the people that you hang around justify it, you'll be cool, but you won't be successful. You'll be producing a victim. You'll have generational trauma of victimhood being passed down from generation to generation. But it's a valid excuse. So I'm not going to hold it against you. We have to shift our mindset, bro. We have to shift our mindset.
They moved it to Canada. They moved a lot of it to China, and it's not sustainable. We're not going to do it. Now we have hundreds of billions of dollars is pouring into our country on a monthly basis. It's pouring. It's already started because they put tariffs on, and eventually it's going to straighten out, and our country will be solid and strong again.
Elon Musk has said he hopes for 0 tariffs between the U.S. and Europe. Is that a place you'd like to also get to?
Well, the problem is that Europe has made a fortune with us. You know, Europe also has had a tremendous surplus with the United States. Europe has treated us, it's a little smaller, but they've treated us very, very badly. China has, but Europe has also. Europe has been very, very bad to us. Europe has taken our leaders for a ride. They don't take our cars. They don't take our food products. They don't take anything. And we take their cars, Mercedes, Volkswagen, BMW. You know, we take their millions of.
Yeah, let me also say another thing. And man, I'm glad we finally have met, and I can't wait till we chop it up in person. But this is why it's so important for us to surround ourselves with different types of people. So many people, like when I have conversations, and this is what it goes back to what we started off the show with. People only see the world through their individual experiences. So therefore, if you surround yourself with other people that have similar worldly experiences like you, then we are going to be very limited in our thinking, but it'll be dominant. We'll think it's real because so many people around us also feel and think the same way. When you surround yourself with different types of people, different cultures, different backgrounds, people in different with different work experiences. Some people may have dropped out of high school. Some people may have double masters. Some people may become an entrepreneur. Some people may work corporate. Some people may be police officers. Some people, when you surround yourself with different types of people, it allows you to absorb different perspectives from people that you love, value, trust, and cherish. And that's the only way that we're going to see exactly how the world works from a view that's not just solely based on our experience. That's the only way. So for a lot of us, we put ourselves, and I've talked to certain people where it's like, okay, a college student, let's say that I'm having a conversation with a college student. A college student may look at LGBTQ a lot differently when you're going to your liberal college, which most colleges are liberal. You're going to this liberal college, you never worked in the real world, and you've grown up with your parents telling you that the world is one way or another just based on their experiences, and you're in this LGBTQ category, which it's more of a newer type of thing, so parents don't really know exactly how to adjust to it. So they obviously you're their kids, so what they end up doing is pandering a lot and just trying, and I don't mean pandering in a bad way. I mean just trying to figure out and trying to make sure that their kid is safe because they know that their kid is not living a lifestyle that the majority of other people either live or have accepted. So a kid in college, his views on the LGBTQ and how he's been convinced that he's a victim and all this, totally different conversation than the conversations that I've had with people that identify as LGBTQ and are 40. They're in a different bubble. They're in a different system. It's the same way if you if you work on a job and the same people, I think y'all understand what I'm saying. I think y'all understand what I'm saying. I really do think y'all understand what I'm saying. And this is just the difference. This is just the difference. And I'll be, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Cars, they take no cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take anything. Europe's treated us very badly. We put a big tariff on Europe. They are coming to the table. They want to talk, but there's no talk unless they pay us a lot of money on a yearly basis. Number one for present, but also for past, because they've taken a lot of our wealth away, and we're not going to allow it to happen.
Sir, have you talked to any tech leaders over the weekend about the tariffs?
Yeah, I talked to the biggest in the world. I talked to the biggest of them all.
Cuzzo, I didn't even want to respond to it. Vaughn said, I love Trump. Literally, Vaughn's is showing exactly what I highlighted in the text. As soon as you don't disagree with Trump, if you don't disagree with Trump as a black man, you're MAGA, you love Trump. No, I love America, bro. I love people. I want to convince people that they are not victims. I want to convince people that have been brought up in a way that's to see the world in a particular way because their parents and their grandparents may have, let me be cool. Let me be cool. I want to convince people that they have the opportunity to do whatever it is that they want to do, to accomplish whatever it is that they want to accomplish, and they are living in the country that allows them to do so, maybe more than any other place in the world. We are sitting here in America complaining about opportunities when we live in the most privileged place in the world as a country. We were lucky to be born in America, but instead you got people that want to convince us that we're oppressed, that we're victims, that we can't accomplish anything, and the only way that we'll have a chance is if we vote Democrat. And Cuzzo said me not to be cool, say it with your chest. So I'll say it with your chest. Because a lot of our parents and grandparents have been too damn lazy and have embraced this victimhood, this thing has been passed down like a lot of these other traumatic experiences have been passed down to us. Because we're being lazy. So what? It's harder for us. Those same parents that will tell you, well, it's hard for us to be successful. It's hard for me to get a job to where I can take care of this. But you convince your kid that his unathletic ass can play in the NFL. You convince your kid that he can be one of 300 players in the NBA. But then you don't. But anything else in life, you're a victim. You're oppressed. It's easier for the white man to be successful than it is. So all that easy stuff only comes into play when you're not doing something that directly deals with sports, right? We convince all our kids that they're going to be the next LeBron. They're going to make it to the NFL. No, your kid is not. But what your kid can be is successful in life. Your kid can work hard, learn a trade, learn a skill, learn some tools that they can directly apply to give them a high percentage to be successful in life and not have to lean on these same oppressed victimhood Olympics that our parents and grandparents were fighting for 50, 60, 70 years ago. You're going to be, you want your kids fighting the same battle that our grandparents were fighting? It's lazy. It's irresponsible. And it's something that we've embraced for whatever reason. But then every parent thinks that their kid can win the lottery and make it to the NFL or the NBA. It's corny. Grow up. Do better.
Many of them, but I've talked to, I would say 4 or 5 that are considered the biggest. They don't, you know what they said? We don't blame you.
Who did you talk to?
I don't want to say. I'll put it out. I may give it to you.
Yo, let me because we spending a lot of time on this. I'm going to switch to. I wanted to see the end of that interview, but I want to switch to. This tweet that Trump put up. I want to show y'all this tweet and then show this Jesse Waters clip that's directly related to this. Hold on. I'm with you, Queez. I want that action. Let me find this. All right, here we go. Can you guys see it on the screen? I don't think I can. I don't know if I can make it bigger. All right, here we go. It says, we have massive financial deficits with China, the European Union, and many others. The only way this problem can be cured is with tariffs, which are now bringing tens of billions of dollars into the USA. They are already in effect and a beautiful thing to behold. The surplus with these countries has grown during the presidency of sleepy Joe Biden. We are going to reverse it and reverse it quickly. Someday people will realize that tariffs for the United States of America are a very beautiful thing. We'll just have to wait and see. We will literally just have to wait and see. And there's nothing wrong with that. But you know my problem? My problem is when people complain about certain stuff that they have no solution for, that they were in office and couldn't solve. So now you're trying to complain to me about it. It's no different than Ayanna Pressley after Donald Trump won, talking about now she's going to bring back legislation to get reparations. Well, why didn't you do that when your man was in office and your homegirl Kamala was in office? They are complaining. They don't want things better. They're scared to death that, well, Donald Trump actually has the courage to actually do something. He's willing to risk things that other politicians have not been willing to risk. In order to bring about big change, you have to risk certain things. It is what it is. It just comes with it. It just comes with it. Let me see what Unc wrote. Hold on. The basic electrician makes $45 an hour, and if you're making baked-in wages, you're probably $120 an hour for job site. Wow. I worked at Coors Brewery and put in elevators. Me and the guys that I was working with were making $175 an hour. To do that, I have a 6th grade education, and I'm dyslexic. What is your excuse, everybody else? What is your excuse? But this is people don't want to work. People don't want to work. People are comfortable. People are comfortable. There is absolutely, if I ask Vons what's holding him back from making more money or being successful or being more successful, not that Vons isn't successful. Vons, if I ask you, what is holding you back? What about Donald Trump do you feel is holding you back? And don't make it about, well, my grandmother, Social Security, my grandfather, my parents, my sister. What about you? What personally is Trump doing that's holding you back? That's what I would just love to ask. Vons wrote, they should tariff that podcast equipment. It's an Australian mic, so we probably will. See, this is the thing, Vons. This is the thing. I literally, hold on. Let me show y'all this. I just got to show y'all it. So we were working with this clothing company, right? We were working with this clothing company. And they sent me the payment over. I thought it was a local company. I thought they were based out of Patterson. They're not. I got connected with them through my friend. And they sent me the bake information to pay for some samples that we were getting ready to make. So I sent him, the last message I sent was, you see, he sent me this long message on WhatsApp. The last message I sent was, we're just going to have to work with an American company. They charge less. We've been burnt before dealing with a place outside the country and sending money. And if it is, this is how it'll work for all orders. It's not going to work. You can send it and we'll pay it when it gets here, or we'll have to find another spot. It is what it is. We'll just work with an American company. We'll pay more. Cool. I'll take pride in paying for American products because I know that that's going to help me and the future generations in the long run. I'm literally dealing with it right now. I'm like, nah, we just got to work with an American company. We're just going to have to work with an American company. I'll show y'all the text in case y'all don't believe me. First one at the top. We're just going to have to work with an American company. It is what it is. Like everybody wants something. This is like real victim mentality. People think that you should be able to give, or you should be able to get stuff from not giving anything. What didn't the famous Democrat say, ask not what your country can do for you, but ask what you can do for your country? Vons, what can you do for your country? What can you do for your country? And we asked what 52-week lows on what, Vons? What stocks did you have that he's... All right, Vons is not trolling. He's definitely not trolling. That's one thing he's not doing. He's serious. All right, let's... And I mean that as a compliment. Vons is being serious. A lot of other people, I'll be totally honest, like some of the conversations that I've had over the weekend with people, they're not being serious. Like the conversation I was referring to earlier where they keep asking me questions and I'm answering them, but then when I ask them a question, they don't want to answer. That's not a serious person. Vons is actually, see, Tom Sowell brought this up. He said certain people where you have an MLK and a Malcolm X, they may not see eye to eye on things, but I think they both actually believed in what they were preaching. I think Vons actually believes in what he's saying. So I give him credit for that. I think a lot of other people do not believe in what they're saying, do not believe that certain things about Donald Trump, and they're just trying to justify it. Now, I think Vons believes what he's saying because of the people that he's been around. If you're in different groups, you see things differently. Maybe his own personal experience. I don't know. But that's how all of us see the world, based on our personal experiences and who we're around. Sometimes who we're around makes us say, I want to go a different way than them. Sometimes who we're around makes us absorb everything that they're doing and move the same way. Let me show y'all this Jesse Waters interview. So this was just something regarding trade and how some of the tariffs have already impacted us. So let's take a look at this video.
The guy that gave Elon the chainsaw, he says friends will be friends. India is cutting a trade agreement in the coming days. That's over 1 billion customers our companies will get access to. South Korea is going all out to get a good deal, and South Korea knows a thing or two about tariffs. You can't get into that market, and they're an Asian powerhouse. The Europeans are coming to the table. They're willing to drop their automobile tariffs from 10% to 2.5%, and they're promising to buy American energy and weaponry. Japan's tried everything. They've said President Trump will buy more natural gas, more armaments. They said SoftBank's investing $500 billion in America, and Trump said no. Keep going. What else? 47 means business. And the last one to negotiate loses. China, in a big huff, retaliated and jacked up tariffs on us. Trump says, quote, China played it wrong. They panicked. The one thing they cannot afford to do. How many things in China say made in America? And how many things here say made in China? Now do you get it? The White House is holding all the cards. And who are the ones crying? Foreign countries and American multinationals who ship jobs and factories to those same foreign countries.
Nobody was crying these crocodile tears when they were closing the Mound Road engine plant that Chrysler had in Macomb County, or the Romeo engine plant in Romeo, Michigan in Macomb County. But all of a sudden, now that we're trying to bring these products back, these components and these vehicles back to the United States, all of a sudden, all the so-called experts are saying it's going to plunge us into recession and be terrible for the economy.
Yeah.
So thank God. If they're crying, I think we're doing something right.
Nobody complained when the factories destroyed Michigan, or we didn't hear the complaints, or we're not hearing them now. We're not learning about those experiences, all those people that lost factory jobs. But we have so much sympathy and empathy for some illegal migrants, some for different reasons, but we don't have any sympathy and empathy for the Americans that lost their jobs because factories decided to move outside of the country, like a John Deere deciding to build the plant in Mexico instead of keeping it in America because they can produce the products cheaper in Mexico, hire people for cheaper labor. Nobody factors those things in. But so now this is what it comes down to. This is what it comes down to. Vons, I swear to God, I will pay you to be on this show regularly. I will pay you. I think I think you make the show a lot better. And I'm not being facetious. I'm being for real. I'm being for real. Vons wrote, bro, the people that want to work in factories ain't here no more. Factories were good enough to put black people through college, to have black people buying homes. Factories, now we're turning our back. Now black people, hold up. Listen and think about how this sounds. Hold on. This is what I'm gonna bring up. Vons, I gotta get you. I'm sorry, bro. I gotta get you. Hold on. Let's just think about this from this standpoint. I'm gonna show y'all this graph, and I'm gonna leave this graph up with Von's comment. This graph is showing $35,000 a year, the median household income in the United States for African Americans. And Vons thinks people, I don't know what people you're talking about, but Vons thinks people that want to work in factories are no longer here anymore. So what he's implying is that those black people at the bottom don't want to work in factories. You're too good to work in a factory. You're at the bottom. This is what this victimhood mentality has created in people at the bottom who think that they're entitled to do anything other than work their way work their way out of the bottom. This is not, I don't know where this mindset comes from. It's not what we grew up playing sports together, learning. I don't know where this mindset has come in. But to think that there's people in America that are at the bottom of the economic ladder and are too good to work in factories, maybe that shows why a lot of people who come over here, they come over here with nothing. And then a generation or two later, they're doing better than us, Fonz. Maybe it's that type of mentality that we have. This entitled mentality. This is insane. I just want y'all to look at this. You just heard what Unc said. You just heard what one of your homies, Unks, just told you how much money he was making with a 6th grade education, working. What were the 2 jobs that you said, Unc? I know one was the elevators at, I think it was the chorus plant. I forget what the other one was. This is the mindset. This is like, people think that you got to have this is another problem. People think you got to have degrees. Oh, you got to go. We've been bamboozled into thinking that a degree, like we have this sense of entitlement, or this sense of accomplishment, I should say, when you get a degree. So Vons wrote, "No, David, you're wrong." Vons, okay, I'm wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times before, but it would be very helpful if you could tell me how I'm wrong. That's been, remember, the whole kind of conversation this entire show? You keep saying I'm wrong, Trump's stupid, Elon's dumb, but you don't say exactly what you disagree with or what is wrong. Yeah. Oh my God. Unc said the average employee in America right now is making $16 an hour. You can hire 4 people for $4 an hour versus that one supervisor's position for $16. What did you just do to your company? And Unc, the people that coming over here, I know you mentioned it before, they're the ones that don't mind working for that. Look at this chat, and then I got to go back to look at what Vons wrote. Hold on. Your family was what at one point? Hold on. Listen to, oh my God. Oh my God. Vons, I want the illegals. Yo, I think we're just going to have, I want everybody to look at Von's comment. We're not picking on Vons. We're not picking on Vons, but we have to address his mindset and what he's pushing right now. You want the illegals. What does that, like, when you type that out, like, I want the illegals, like, how? Damn. Yo, people end up exactly where they deserve to end up. I'm just going to put it that way. If you win, you probably deserve to win. If you lost, you probably deserve to lose. It just, wow. Much of our society has become decadent, bloated, and entitled. I agree, Steve. Shout out to big bro Steve in the building. I agree. What is going on here? What is going on here? Call in, Vons. Like, Vons, you gotta, but this is like, G wrote Vons stirring the pot, nothing else. And I'm just peeping. Shout out to my brother G. I always, because you changed the name. That's why. Yeah. Vons, do you think that there's a certain level of, like, we have all different types of people. Like, everybody may not know who's looking at this show, but even in this group of, let's say, 14 people are on right now, there's a lot of diversity in this group, because I know mostly everybody that's commenting, at least the people in the, there's a lot of diversity here. Vons, let me ask you, would you be willing to take a step back and say, hey, maybe I'm going at this a little bit wrong. Maybe I'm seeing this a little bit differently than I should be seeing it. Maybe I should be open to seeing, I mean, maybe even questioning how I see things now, not necessarily just changing your opinion to agree with us. I'm not saying that at all. But is there anything in you that would maybe allow some type of space where maybe you're seeing it a little bit differently than you should be seeing? I don't know. But let me wrap it up here. It's already 10:10. My apologies. I got my parents coming in town today, and I thought they were coming in town tomorrow. So hopefully they didn't hear that. Hopefully they're at the airport. So I got to scramble a little bit. But it is what it is. It is what it is. So yeah. I'll finish it off with this. We got to give grace. And we got to give grace. And I think the people that stand on things, when you stand on something very strong, perhaps those are the people, and I'm talking to myself as well, perhaps those are the people that have to give the most amount of grace. The people that are so passionate about certain things. I'm not saying that I'm going to change my mind, but as far as giving grace to understand, like, this person thinks the way they think because of their own individual experience. So I can't expect them necessarily to see the things or to see the world how I see the world because we've had different experiences. Me extending grace to people that I did not agree with 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago, last week, has allowed me to, in my opinion, see the big picture. It's like every time I interact with somebody that has a different viewpoint or a different upbringing, different perspective, all these different things, it's almost like I'm taking a step back. I take a step back and I'm able to see more of the big picture. Like, oh, I didn't realize that. I was so up here, I could only see this part of the picture. I didn't realize until I stepped back that I could see the entire thing. Oh, this is how this works. Oh my God. I was so locked in up here. I was getting fooled and manipulated to thinking that it was just this. I didn't realize that if I look back, it's what Queez always said. This is a normal occurrence in the stock exchange. And every time it happens, we act like it's not. It's like, instead of capitalizing on it, but I don't even want to go down that path. But we all see the world through our individual experiences, and we use these selfish lenses to determine what is best in the world. And I'm just going to throw a couple questions out there that I don't need answers for, but these are some of the things that I think about when I say we only see the world through our own individual lens. How can you believe in abortion? That's one of those things where, depending on your experience in life, it's like, I can understand why this side says this, and I can understand why this side says that. Oh, you're super religious, you're super this, you grew up conservative. Oh, okay. Oh, you've had somebody who was raped and they didn't have the. Oh, I can see that. You get what I'm saying? Now, one may be seen as more extreme than the other. I'm not. What I'm saying is, people don't care about extremes if that extreme matches their perspective on life. Just like with if you're a trans woman and you don't want to play sports against men, and you want to play sports against women, then you will accept an extreme version because it's something that the majority of people see as extreme and radical because it's your individual experience. And you have emotions tied to it. How can you not support Black Lives Matter? I was one of them. And then I had to take a step back, like, hold up, what? Like, I can't stand Black Lives Matter. Matter of fact, I don't do the protests. I don't go to protests and do all that stuff. But you may get me to think about it if there was an anti-BLM protest. I don't know. I'm just joking, kind of, maybe. How can you be pro-Palestine? How can you be pro-Israel? Oh, your family is. Because we've been oppressed. It's based on your individual experience. How can you support illegal migration? Well, Oh, my grandmother was here illegally. Oh, okay. So then therefore all illegal migrants are good. Oh, well, I don't like my, you guys get what I'm saying? We have to extend a certain amount of grace, or else we won't be able to grow as a society. And there's certain people that may believe that, nah, I don't got to change anybody's mind. I'm already right. So therefore, I just stand on what I stand on, and that is what it is. And people who don't want to stand on it, they can stand on something. If we want to bring about change, it depends on our goal, I guess. Let's back into it. What's the goal? What's the desire? And then our action should be based on what our desire is. If we want to truly elevate society overall, then we may have to convince some folk that don't typically agree with us to maybe figure out seeing things from a different view. And if we if we are the salespeople that we believe we are, if we are the influencers that we believe that we are, let's put it to the test. Let's see if we can get somebody to not necessarily change the opinion for them, but just get them to see things maybe from a broader perspective or a different perspective, a different angle that allows them to see more of the big picture. So I'll leave it at that. So now make sure that you're liking and subscribing. We're going to do 45 seconds. You take the time, get your breath work in, meditate, manifest, whatever it is. Every exhale, releasing all the negative energy. Every inhale, inhaling all the positive. All right. 45 seconds, eyes open, eyes closed. It's on you. I'll be closing my eyes on this one. All right. Ready? Go. All right, one more exhale. Inhaling all the positive. All right. I see the chat bubbling a little bit. I can't keep going back and answering those because we gotta move on. We gotta move on. I gotta get rid of this yellow tint, bro. It's making my teeth look yellow. My teeth ain't yellow. Just I gotta get rid of this bright tint. I'm gonna fix that. Don't trip. We're gonna get it together. Let me get back to the show. Y'all know what we're here to do. Elevate on purpose, both from an intentional standpoint, raising our standards, right? Raising our standards to challenge ourselves to become the best leaders we can become, and raising our standards to grow into the people that we need to become in order to accomplish these amazing goals that we set out for ourselves. All right. Onward and upward, strength and honor. Get to that bag. What do I mean when I say get to the bag? The same thing I mean when I say it every other time. The little things that we're going to collect throughout the week, that at the end of the week are going to give us the best chance to win that week and keep us on the most efficient trajectory of living in our purpose and striving for purposeful abundance. All right. All right. Y'all got me? All right. So the things that are in your bag, you got to figure out based on the things that you desire. Think about what you want out of life and then make your actions align with that. All right. G said peace and love to all. The things that are in my bag, I guess I'll leave y'all with that since you said peace and love, G. Peace, love, happiness, health, wealth, and everything we do, integrity. All right. I appreciate y'all showing love to the parents. Anthony's funny. I appreciate it, Anthony. That's awesome. Enjoy your time with mom and dad. Appreciate you, Steve. G, love you, bro. You know the vibes. You know the energy that we on, my brother. And I'll see y'all soon, man. I'll see y'all on Wednesday. Ooh.